all, welcome to ShareTreck. I'm really happy to get started with this video. Things are looking pretty decent. Not that great in terms of the shares, but in terms of the publicity and the visibility that CRISPR is getting in the media. So as usual, I'm going to start with a few industry news and items that can provide us some motivation, and then we'll go on to the technical analysis of the stocks and the indices. So the first item I have with me is a headline which I saw in the Investors Business Daily. It says, "The journey to rewrite human DNA is about to get wild, thanks to these CRISPR stocks." So basically, it doesn't have anything new that we have not discussed before, but it's heartening to see that this article is dated 13th of January. So it's heartening to see that the media is finding it worthwhile to mention that CRISPR is coming of age. It talks about the big pharma getting into CRISPR stocks as a recognition of the promise of CRISPR therapeutics as being the future of medicine. It talks about CRISPR therapeutics drugs, which like the sickle cell drugs, the Intellia Therapeutics, Editas Medicine, and it also talks about the big pharma interest in CRISPR gene editing technology in a biggish paragraph. RBC analyst issues cautious notes about big pharma moves, so that is a caution from established finance. And they are saying what keeps us up at night on gene editing is safety is number one, number two safety, number three safety. So everyone out there is concerned about safety. They are talking about a transformational year for gene editing stocks in 2022, thanks to all the collaborations and mergers that have taken place so far. And a few of the trials which were in stage 1 or phase 1 or 2 are likely to come to fruition this year. So in terms of a poll of which technology will have the most impact on healthcare among AI, immunotherapies, blockchain, and robotics, CRISPR stands at 12% vote for that, and AI stands to be at 65%. And it's reasonable to believe that because AI is being used to identify proteins and gene mutations and all that, so that's going to be one of the biggest. And contrary to the hype that is around blockchain as compared to CRISPR, the percentage of what it's going to do for health is only 3%, and that's logical too, because not much blockchain application is there in the health sector. So that's what it is. I put the link into the description. You can have a look at it. The next item I have is a lament in Genetic Literacy Project website that obsolete regulations block using CRISPR to develop safer potatoes, healthier tomatoes, and climate-resistant crops. This is aimed at the EU regulations, because in EU the regulations are quite strict. So that's what they have out there. And the new information that has come out today is an article on physics.org which says human proteins behind COVID-19 infection revealed by innovative CRISPR technology. So again, I would put a list of all these links in the description. You can just click and go into it and have a read for yourself. There is no point me investing time replicating all of these items for you. But now I would like to turn my attention to the indices, and then we can start talking about individual stocks. So in terms of the indices, what we have today is the VIX, which is at, let me zoom out to a long-term view, which is higher than it was yesterday, and it is continuing to go upwards. Right now there's a bit of a respite, but it had gone as high as 28.20 at one point during the day, and we can also see that the Nasdaq has been impacted marginally. And the reason why you don't see Nasdaq responding so heavily to VIX at these levels, is because there are these big stocks, Apple, Microsoft, and Google. These kind of stocks are not losing much value. They are not dropping as much as you would expect them to. Like Apple, for example, is still positive. Microsoft is still positive. Google is still positive. So those are the kind of stocks which have got much heavier weight. and they are continuing to do pretty well. So now next let us look at NASDAQ itself. Let us go into the indices section and let us look at NASDAQ and zoom out to a 1-year view. So we can see here that we are still below this resistance here. So we are here with a resistance at 14,954.18, and we have a support which is at 14,271.23. Our MACD is looking pretty weak, bearish. Momentum has also gone down, and as we saw earlier in the VXN, the VXN is surging. I see a correlation between this resistance we have here for NASDAQ and this support we have here for VXN. So I'm going to change this into a support. They move so fast every day, it's difficult to keep up. So it's a kind of a mirror image of the resistance we have for NASDAQ. So now let's move on to the individual shares. So let's go on to our biotech shares. So the time now is around 12 o'clock, and this is 14th of January 2021, and I'm going to sort the list out here. And first in line is Vertex, which has got a gain of 2.86%, that is $6.48, and it has gone above two supports, and I'm very happy to mark these supports mark these resistance as supports. There you go. So we already have two supports here. Now I'll have to look at the next resistance that we will be facing. I'm going to do a quick and dirty plot here. I would assume that there is a resistance out here which needs to be broken. Yeah, this is the place where I would put a resistance, and I have pegged it at 234.58. So that's our next resistance here. Let us see what happens today. Our MACD is turning bullish. We are on overbought territory as far as the RSI is concerned, so the momentum needs to cool down a bit. But I wouldn't hold my breath, because we have the earnings coming up on 2nd of February. So we may at the most have a sideward movement, and then the market is expecting a lot from Vertex. So if you look at all the earnings for Vertex in the past, there has been a surprise of 0.28, that is 10.30%, 22.86%, and 15.23% on earnings. On revenue, they have a surprise of 6.9% so far, preceded by 4.36%, preceded by 3.95%. So the market has great expectations from Vertex. So if they do not deliver a surprise, then we can see the price just falling through all these supports and coming down again. That's what I would expect. And if I look at if I try to look at any patterns, I can see that during earnings we have been high, and then we have moved sideways or down, and then come back again to be higher during the earnings. So wherever we are during the earnings, we tend to drop below that after earnings is declared. So I would expect that if I was buying Vertex today, and let us say Vertex goes up to 236 or something by the time the earnings happen, then I would sell immediately, because if history is any trend, it's going to come down. So you can always buy it back at a lower level. So that's my strategy. Verve. I have a lot to talk about Verve, which is a recent addition to our index. And the reason I think I would like Verve to be included in our list of shares is because Verve focuses on genetic medicines for cardiovascular disease. And it sold for 14.04 million shares in the IPO, which happened somewhere in the middle of June of last year. They priced the IPO at $19 a share to raise a total of 266.7 million. On debut, its share price has soared 68%. That brings the debut pricing to at around 31.92 per share approximately. And that's a pretty good premium recognized by the market. Today, the share is trading at around 31.08. In my opinion, the downside risk is very low at this point, given subsequent developments since debut in June 2021. So there will be downside, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be too high. So for that, if you take a look at the price right now, it is 31.08, and let us look at the MACD which is bearish, and momentum which is low. So that indicates that there is going to be further drop, and we have a support at 29.72. So 29.72 is our support out here, and if we break below that, then we'll have to plot another support and see whether it can sustain us. But I see limited downside risk as compared to upside potential when it comes to this particular stock. And further, I would observe that if you look at the progress that they have made with the hereditary liver condition, Verve 101, it's very, very promising. So they published their pipeline recently. I'm going to show you that page. Verve Therapeutics announces 2022 anticipated milestones and preclinical data on potential additional dosing regimens for its novel base editing programs. So if I was to read into this article, basically what they are saying is that Verve's lead program, 101, is designed to permanently turn off the PCSK9 gene in the liver to reduce disease-driving LDL-C, that is LDL cholesterol. Verve 101 is being developed initially for the treatment of patients with HEFL, which is a potential fatal genetic heart disease. Previously reported data in NHPs demonstrated that a single administration of Verve 101 led to robust, durable editing of PCSK9 gene. The latest pipeline update shows that in second half of 2022, they expect clinical trial applications and investigative new drug submissions for this therapy. So that's what you have here, and you can actually read this press release. I'm going to put a link down in the description box. It's very, very encouraging. I find it very positive, and I'm considering seriously looking at getting into a stake in Verve, maybe buy a small portion. Now let's look at Regeneron next. Regeneron is down 0.3%, and it's looking pretty decent to me out here. If I go to a 5-day kind of graph, then you can see that we are right between a support and a resistance. The support is at 614.51, and the resistance happens to be at 619.54. And our MACD is bullish. The momentum is slagging a little bit, but it's still not bad. It's pretty neutral, and dark pool activity is positive. So I would expect Regeneron to gain a little bit and stay above this support, and probably end up slightly higher before the end of the day. Then we look at Novartis, which is down 0.22%, and we have a support at 89.28, and we have a resistance at 90.63. And right now our MACD is looking bullish, and also our RSI momentum is pretty decent, even though dark pool sentiment appears to be negative. So we'll have to see how the market reacts in the next 4 hours. So I would expect that Novartis might probably stay slightly negative, or just about below the 90.63 resistance that we have, looking at the current indications. CRISPR is down minus 0.91%, that's around 61 cents, and it has fallen below the last support that we had, which was at 66.03. So I'm going to mark it red as a resistance, and let us zoom out a bit and have a look at where we are. Let me go to a 3-month kind of a situation, and so we have this downward channel in which we were traveling for a long time, and we are actually negotiating this resistance 66.36. We have just fallen below that, and hopefully before the end of the day, if we are able to come back to that resistance level, I would be happy. But looking at our MACD and RSI, that doesn't seem to be a probability, because MACD is very bearish and RSI is totally low. The momentum is low and RSI is not looking great. So CRISPR might probably lose another 40 cents before the close of the market, unless some positive momentum takes place, like the VIX drops a little bit or something like that. Teladoc is down minus 0.34%, which is very insignificant. We are just below the support at 78.36. which is now a resistance. It was an earlier support, so I'm going to mark it as red. So as you can see, we have been going around it in the last 2 days. Today we tried to pierce it at least twice, and we have come. The MACD appears to be struggling to be bullish. Right now it is neutral. The RSI is also neutral. So we have a 50-50 chance that Teladoc might go positive, but I doubt that it will go above 78.36 today, which is the resistance that we have. So let's hope for the best. Next, going on to PFE. Pfizer is down 1.26%, and as I've been mentioning earlier, I wouldn't worry too much about Pfizer. It's down 0.70 cents. Like if we were to zoom out to a long-term view of 6 months, as I mentioned in my previous video, we are between this 53.50 support and our resistance, which is going to be at 61.53. So we are between that resistance and this support, and I'm expecting that we are going to bounce off our support at 53.50, which is this green line, and we should be fine with that in a longer term. Let us look at ARCG. So my the red position I have in ARCG is continuing to grow. It's like catching a falling knife, so I'm not buying any more ARCG. I'll just hold on to it and try to dollar cost average if it goes below this support, which we have at 48.82. So if it goes below that, then I'll consider whether I should buy a little more. And as far as the MACD is concerned, it's bearish. Let me go to the 1-day time frame. So even here the MACD is bearish. It's trying to go towards the signal line. The momentum is picking up. So let us hope that we wipe out at least half of this negative 84 and we end up maybe minus 40 or something today. I don't see it going into positive. Let's look at Editas, which is next, down 1.78%. We have a green doji candle and it's at 21.48, and there has been a sudden spike. I don't know what happened in the market, but that's a welcome change for us. Our MACD is bearish, but it shows a tendency to cross over the signal line and become bullish. The momentum has picked up very rapidly suddenly, and that's what is reflected in these two candles that we see here. These are 1-minute candles, so they are not as powerful as a 1-week candle or a 2-hour candle, but we'll take what positive we can get. Next, let us look at Beam, which is down minus 1.85%, and MACD has just crossed over the signal and it's becoming bullish. And RSI is also, momentum is also picking up. So I would expect that we will probably challenge the resistance at 65.12 today, and that should probably stop our progress because I don't see the market conditions being supportive enough for us to break above it. But if we did, I'll be really happy, but I don't see that happening. Next, let us look at Blue, which is down 2.46%. It's at 8.34. MACD has turned bullish. Momentum has suddenly picked up. If you see this purple line here, it's going upwards, and we have a big candle out here, 1-minute candle. So of course these small candles, as I mentioned earlier, they are weaker, but any positive is welcome. And if I zoom out to a longer term picture, then we can see that we are way below every resistance and supports that we have plotted. We are in uncharted territory. I'll have to draw more resistance and support lines, but for now our resistance is going to be at 9.40 and this diagonal green line. So if we were to move upwards this way, so somewhere around 19th of January or thereabouts, we'll be challenging this green line at 8.94 if things go the way they are right now. So that's hoping for the best. Next, let us look at Intelia, which is down 1.71% or $1.53. So the dark pool sentiment seems to be positive, and we have the MACD, which is bearish and probably trying to cross over the signal line. We'll see whether it can manage that or not. We are totally oversold. The momentum is not there. So we are looking at the possibility of possibly falling below this support of 87.07, after which we have this diagonal line which is going to be at around 85.89, which will be the next support. So these are two supports that we have, and right now we are struggling with the first horizontal support. Hopefully if we can get the MACD to turn bullish, we should be able to stay above that, or else we'll drop down. We'll see what happens tomorrow. So that brings me to an end of the technical analysis part of it. Of course, with technical analysis, we try to gauge the probability, take your own due diligence before investing in shares. Please use your own logic, and outcomes for different people differs depending on your portfolio position, your age, everything. That's all I have today for this session. Thanks once again. Please like, share, and subscribe, and help us grow this channel. And thanks to all the new subscribers who have taken our tally to around 86 subscribers. Looking forward to the 100 mark. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.